The test pack. 4? Is 4 too many? This is hard. To pare it down a bit, I think.
Maybe. So this is all of our stuff. We have a generator, 3 50-pound bags, one with a boat motor in it. Hard case full of electronics, camera bag.
Plus our carry-ons. So our flight is in less than 8 hours now. It's 11:30 at night. And it's been an emotionally exhausting couple days, not to mention, I don't know, like as much time as we had to plan and prepare this departure, it's never enough time. So we're up at the last minute doing things, repacking things that we've packed 6 million times. I'm tired. Our place is a mess.
Yeah, and tomorrow we'll be in Antigua.
It's so exciting, but it's so hard to say all the goodbyes.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully Monday we'll be in St. Martin.
Fingers crossed that there's not a whole bunch of water in the boat.
Or any water in the boat.
Yeah, because either way it's not good.
Yeah. Anyway, the last few days have not been restful. It's been very stressful. And
Dave hasn't slept in 3 days.
I haven't slept in 3 days, so I'm feeling a little tired. I probably will fall asleep.
Right before the alarm?
Right before the alarm. All right, let's go to bed.
Okay.
Okay.
See
Night
you.
all.
Cross? Going to get coffee. Eventually I'd like to get off the coffee.
But not today.
I think as a sailor it's not good to have dependencies. Because there will be days when you just can't get what you want. We're not sailors quite yet. Go to our boat tomorrow. So today there will be coffee.
So here we go.
This is our little tiny flight to St. Martin via St. Bart's. Where are we?
We are in St. Martin, here on our boat, our trail.
It's Tuesday the 31st. Happy Halloween. Things are pretty scary here. We've been really lucky that our boat has survived Hurricane Irma on other hurricanes. You can see even just right next to us, we got hit by a piece of roof.
But everyone's still in good spirits.
Yeah, so all the
Despite
boats beside us have gone off. You see the catamaran on its side. Apparently one of the straps held on that catamaran and it was actually flopping around in the wind. Kind of hard to imagine.
this little garbage pile over there.
Half as big as it was. Cockpit's full of mud. We're just cleaning and trying to put things back together. All in all, not too bad.
We're pretty lucky.
We're pretty lucky. One of the hatches got torn open. That was about it.
So we're just emptying her out and cleaning her up. That's all we can do for now. Sorry folks, we were trying to get our mugs out of here, but it's not working. So back to regular programming here. It's day 2. We arrived yesterday and our boat is in pretty much the same shape we found it. Maybe a little dirtier, maybe a little wetter. But all in all, pretty good. So we're just cleaning it up one thing at a time. I'm going to try and not get a rash this time. That would be a good start. And try not to get overwhelmed by what it's going to take to get this boat up and running and spick and span and generally livable. So yeah, right now our stuff is everywhere. There's mosquitoes. I am a delicious target, so try not to let that get to me either. It's going to be a long haul, but worth it. Cleaning the decks. Cleaning the decks. I'm doing dishes. I've been doing dishes for an hour. I'm washing all of the dishes that were left on the boat. There's a little bit of grime because they haven't been used in 3 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So this is the part about
This is the super glamorous part.
of cruising.
We just spent 5 straight days cleaning, scrubbing. This cupboard down here was full of something that exploded who knows how long ago. So that was another scrubbing task. Brush and gloves. Probably should have worn a mask of some sort. But we're getting there. We have cushions down. We have somewhere to sit now. I mean, there's still crap everywhere, but we'll get there. Got tunage. What else? What else? I don't know, it's been a busy 5 days. Except for yesterday. Yesterday I was not busy. It was so hot I just slept for most of the day.
We went to the beach.
And we went to the beach, that's right.
And we went grocery shopping.
And grocery shopping and to the bank.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're getting there. Trying to stay positive.
Yep.
You know,
It's warm.
It's warm and the mosquitoes. Actually, that's the back. Yeah, let's go for the back of the legs. Look at the other one, yeah. That one's really good too. So, I think the mosquitoes are the worst part. I'm covered in fans so that they can't land and they still manage to land.
And bug spray. Yeah. Anyway, could be worse.
It could be worse. We could not have a boat. None of this could not be happening. Oh, too many negatives. Not enough drinking. Not enough drinking. I haven't had a drink today, and it's almost 5 o'clock. That's like
And it shows.
unheard of here. That doesn't happen. Everyone's drinking, and it's Saturday on top of that. So everyone started drinking at like noon.
Get to work.
Get to work. Yeah. Okay, we'll get the rosé out.
All right.
More to come.
All right. Here we go.
Moment of truth. Ta-da! Check out the smoke. Oh yeah. And that poor boat next to us there didn't make it. How you feeling, Captain?
Well, a little nervous. But so far, so good.
We did it! We're out. We left Toby back there. Now we're navigating through the wrecks. I mean the channel. And get to try and figure out mooring balls. So we've never done that with this boat before. There is a giant power boat heading right towards us, going much faster than you're supposed to go in the channel. I suppose we could be going faster too. I have no idea how fast we're going. None of our instruments seem to be working. But that's okay. We're out on the water. We're looking forward to escaping mosquitoes and unbearable heat. Wake! But I think all the problems that we've been having will seem a little bit more manageable, not being stuck in a boatyard.
Gravel and fiberglass,
Figure it out.
docks and turtle disco.
Mosquitoes. Yay! We made it out!
Survived.
Hooray!
So the rig is up.
Now we just need to put sails on.
Yeah.
We're by a mountain with goats on it. You can't see the goats from here, but you can hear them.
Yeah.
I like it. And what else? Gotta put the sails on. It's been 5 weeks.
Yeah.
5 weeks of hard work, but we're now away from the marina. We're on our own. We didn't go far. We're just in the lagoon in St. Martin. So we're about halfway between the French side and the Dutch side. And yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah.
A great step for man.
Awesome step for us.
Exit at Simpson Bay Lagoon. Simpson Bay.
Yep,
They found their captain.
pretty good. Pretty good. Except that what's supposed to be straight is really not straight. But, you know, we'll get used to it. Every boat has its own things, and we just have to spend a bit more time with this little girl to figure out her things. It's like a new love affair. But yeah, this is Simpson Bay over there. Kimshaw Beach.
So Mel, how's your morning commute going?
It's been pretty brutal actually. There was a lot of swell. It was like just a tiny bit nauseating. But now it's calmed down. The water's turned a lovely shade of turquoise. And we're gonna put an anchor down for the first time. There's a lot of firsts happening today. First time we're sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, first time anchoring. First time going through bridges. What other firsts did we have? That's about it.
Yeah.
It's a good start for, before 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Now we gotta go grocery shopping.
That's not a first.
No.
You have to do that quite often. Yeah. Good day.
Finally made it out.
We're motor sailing.
Fortunately, to make the point of sail that we need to be to, we have to motor sail.
It's a bit wavy,
Yeah.
but the boat's handling it really well. And yeah. It's gonna be, I don't even know what time we left. 3? 3 maybe? Should be there by 6. So,
Hopefully make it before dark.
according to Navionics, you will be there at 5:55.
It's a little rough.
Captain, hang 10, man.
Alright, the blend.
Petit punch. Et madame. À 45. Si, je voulais pas le
Good morning. It is Thursday, June 7th at around 10 after 10. It's election day in Ontario, and we're celebrating by traveling 360 nautical miles to St. Bart's. And that should take us about 3 days, non-stop. David and I are just going to take turns at the helm, take turns sleeping, take turns cooking, and yeah, hopefully it should be uneventful. It's the first time we're doing this, so, but I think we're ready, and we're both really excited. So right now we're in St. George's in Granada. This is pretty much the southernmost country that we've visited, and hopefully next year we'll be back because we really enjoyed it, and we would have liked to stay longer, but we have a good weather window for the crossing right now, so we decided to take advantage of that and head out today. So we'll check back in throughout the passage, and if not, then at the end, and hopefully all will be well.
So we've been at sea for more than 24 hours now. We are crossing from Granada to St. Martin eventually. I think we may stop in St. Kitts or Nevis now, just because we'll get there in the afternoon. Haven't seen too much. A couple of container ships and some flying fish. No dolphins though. First 24 hours were kind of rough. We've ended up doing 2-hour shifts because we've been hand steering. So feeling pretty tired, but I think we're starting to get into the swing of things now. It's been a beautiful day today, other than we had a squall that lasted about an hour. So that wasn't much fun. Yeah,
We're halfway.
are we halfway? Yeah, we did 150 miles in our first 24 hours.
Woohoo! Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Hello. It is halfway through day 3. It is Saturday, and our big Saturday night is going to entail another night of shifts. So David and I have been doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Though last night we started listening to audiobooks. We're listening to The Three Musketeers because we figured that one was long enough. And actually that's been helpful, so we might even try 3-hour shifts tonight just so that we get a bit more sleep. And yeah, should arrive early tomorrow morning in St. Bart's, and I look forward to jumping in the water because neither of us has showered for 3 days. Don't feel too bad though. I think we're getting into a groove, we're getting into the motion of the boat while it's underway, and we've had to motor quite a bit, which is unfortunate, but we've been trying to reproduce the speeds from our first day, which were amazing. We probably averaged like 7 knots, and that was really fun, but it also meant that we got no sleep because everything was so loud. So we found a good balance, I think, and we should still be there earlier than our projected 72 hours. So it's good. I'm feeling good, and yeah, it's going to be a huge accomplishment. So that's good. So that was that. So that was our first year of sailing the Caribbean. And as you can see, and as Park explained earlier, we decided that 1 year was not enough and that we would keep going. So David resigned and I started freelancing as a translator, meaning I could work from wherever I was. And oh, I should mention that that video shows me doing a heck of a lot more work than I actually did. So that's not quite accurate in that sense. Yeah, so this past season would have been our fourth season of Caribbean cruising, but COVID had other plans. I think originally we were supposed to leave in like 10 days or something, but Air Canada had other plans, as did Justin Trudeau. So here we are until we can get back to our boat, which we left in Grenada last March. So that's pretty much it. And do you have anything to add before we move to questions?
Thank you very much, David and Mel. That's been great. You really saw quite a bit in spite of all the fun, I guess, that you had changing your plans as time went on. So
well, that's one thing that sailing has taught us, is to be flexible. And just go where the wind takes you.
That's true. By the way, did you ever skip, or did you ever say beat coffee? Did you get off coffee?
That didn't happen.
No. Total pipe dream.
Yeah,
I don't
probably
think
not.
that we drank coffee on passages just because we were afraid.
You didn't.
We'd heard rumors of seasickness due to coffee on long passages.
Yeah.
So I think we got over that.
We got over it.
Well, there's a few questions that have come in, and I have a couple myself. I guess, why did you do the 320 nautical mile journey all the way back in a 3-day period? You are, let's say, footloose and fancy free. Why didn't you do skips, one spot to the next, rather than such a long, arduous trip?
Well, to clarify, we did the long island by island trip on the way south, and then
yeah. So we wanted to do a long passage because, of course, we were building up to longer and longer passages, and eventually we'd like to cross the Atlantic and go to the Med. So we thought, okay, well, we better do a long run. And when we got down there, we met a lot of people, of course, who've been sailing for years and years and years. And they all said, don't do a 24-hour run. You're just going to feel like you've got the flu when you get to wherever you're going. Do 2 days or 3 days, because then you give your body some time to adjust. So the plan was we'd sail all the way down, take our time, get to Grenada, pick a good weather window, and then sail from Grenada back to St. Bart's or St. Martin's.
yeah, so that's the nice thing about the Eastern Caribbean. Between St. Martin and Grenada, all of the runs between islands are less than a day's sail.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Some of the audience have asked other questions as well. What or how much sailing experience did each of you have before you started on this adventure?
Good question.
You start.
I've been sailing for almost 20 years. And
When we started.
Sorry?
Like when we bought this boat, he'd already been sailing for 20 years.
So I've been a member at the Nepean Club for, well, at least 15 years. And I've raced a fair bit, and I race on the J24s, and then when we met, we bought a boat together.
Yes, it was our first shared vehicle.
Yeah. Before we even bought a car together. And then we started, it was a trailerable boat. So we started doing trips. We did Lake Ontario, we did the North Channel, and then we did Lake Champlain as well. So,
but no ocean cruising?
Not a lot, no.
No tides?
No.
No currents, really?
No.
Okay. Sounds like me, sort of. but I never went anything near as much as you guys.
Yeah,
So
Currents and well, there's definitely currents in the Caribbean. Tides,
not so much.
not so much.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
the reason we bought the boat in the Caribbean, because we didn't want to make the trip from the East Coast to the Caribbean against the current our first trip.
Also, when we first planned our trip, we were on a limited timeline, right? So we didn't want to spend a month to 3 months getting down there. We just wanted to be there and go,
Yeah.
basically.
right, okay. Was your engine on that boat, was it diesel? Because it sounded like gas when it started.
No, it was an old Perkins 4108.
Okay. That would make sense, but it just didn't sound like a diesel starting.
Yeah.
Well, that was
lot
the
of
first
cranking.
time that it had been started in 3
3
years.
years.
So
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm glad you had a good battery.
that's a whole other story.
In terms of navigation, you had Navionics, and I think you had a smartphone as well. But like, what backup did you have? What did you use?
Paper charts.
Paper charts.
Yeah,
It was a
paper charts and a tablet.
yeah.
I think there's one scene there where we pan over the nav pod.
Hmm.
So the boat, of course, had survived Irma, and as I was saying, the wind speeds and the probably right next to us 200 to 300 miles an hour. So the nav pod was actually, even though it's watertight, was full of salt water when we got there. So most of the instrumentation was ruined.
Yeah, so we just used Navionics on a tablet
In a paper chart.
Okay,
for the
so there's
first
no
year.
real backup other than
We had a handheld GPS as well.
our handheld. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. In terms of all the damage that was done there, your boat didn't seem to have any damage or very much damage. How do you attribute that? Were you just lucky? Were you a little boat beside a big boat, or what?
No, there were 3 boats, all about the boat with all the stainless steel damage was an Island Packet 38, so almost exactly the same size. She was like 6 inches away from us. So there was this much space between us. And it got hit by a solar panel and completely destroyed all of the radar arch and everything on the back. And the boat on the other side, they believe a tornado went through the yard.
It was several tornadoes, wasn't it? You
Well,
could see like the paths.
You could see
winding
the
their
path,
way.
and all the boats on our port side were all destroyed. And the cat at the end was I think a 46-foot catamaran, and it was actually flying on one of its tethers. And it, of course, crushed all the boats on either side of it and the crane.
And the crane. Wow.
Yeah, our boat was just dirty. We had everything was salty and grimy, and
Yeah.
there were a couple of nicks, but
Well, and as David said in the video, one of our hatches got torn open, so it was just an influx. It was kind of like a hurricane had happened inside our boat too. So cleaning up was fun, but in terms of major systems, apart from electronics, everything was fine. And then we just ended up sailing kind of old school, like we didn't rely on electronics and
compass and a chart.
yeah,
Wow. Very good. Back to the old days.
that's right. Good skills.
Yes. At the end of the video, you were showing how you took the boat out of the water. And there's a question here on that. Let me see here. I guess you do this at the end of each season. You take the boat out of the water just to maintain it safe and secure,
Yeah.
and maybe
We're lucky.
hidden away just in case.
Yeah.
Every year, but this year, we got to Granada last March. And by the time we got there, everything was locked down and we actually couldn't take the boat out of the water. So we rented a hurricane mooring. So she's actually sitting in the water.
Even now.
Currently growing an insane ecosystem on the hull. We have friends who took a picture and it's like just lots of critters in there, I'm sure.
the water is so warm there that the same way as in Florida,
Hmm.
anti-fouling just, it doesn't work particularly well after a period of time. And I've heard of people with curly capes, like I tried, but it doesn't really work very well.
Well, especially if the boat's not moving at all.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there.
Yeah,
So,
we'll have a big scraping job when we do get there.
Mel, you talked about the problems you had with mosquitoes. How about seasickness for the both of you?
We're very lucky.
Yeah, neither one of us gets seasick.
Yeah.
Both
We haven't
fine.
yet, anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting in the video that I say that we sort of got seasick, and I think that was the worst it got, and it was because we both went below. So we learned, like, just don't go below until you're used to that motion, because
Yeah.
it
Stay
can
on
be
deck.
pretty icky.
And don't do dishes in the first 12 hours.
That's why you have lots of dishes.
Yeah.
Where did you learn to sail?
Ooh. I first started sailing. I had a canoe with a sailing rig, and I used to sail it years ago at Dow's Lake.
Oh,
And then I bought a boat and then started taking sailing lessons at the Ottawa Sailing School
okay.
many years ago.
And you, Mel, you seem to be quite familiar with the boats and no problem at all. So,
So I guess I started sailing when I met this guy, but just basically on our own boat.
through osmosis.
Yeah, yeah. I never took lessons. I only started racing like after we bought this boat, and yeah, just kind of picked it up as I went along.
There's a question here about auto steering. Do you have a wind vane, or did you use auto helm, or did you use both, or what did you
That's
use?
yeah. So that actually was the only thing on the boat that survived Irma. So we had an old school Simrad wheel pilot on the boat, and for whatever reason, and it was out on deck, and it survived, and it worked fine. It's still working actually. But we found on that first big passage at 6 or 7 knots, it can't handle it. It couldn't steer the boat. It couldn't hold a course. We've since made adjustments to the boat. We did a little rig change, and we have a wind vane now.
Okay.
So now we have, and that makes life much easier. And now we can actually do a 3 or 4 hour shift when we're doing a long passage. That's a little easier.
You're not directly involved and are not as much involved with the physical or physical necessity to hold the wheel and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's quite exhausting having to have a hand on the wheel all the time.
Yeah, very much so. How old was the boat when you got it?
It's a 1977, so it was 40 years old when we got it.
It's older
Wow.
than I am.
There's a question here from one of the people. What is your experience getting insurance for the boat in the Caribbean? I guess maybe it's particularly after you've just gone through San Martin and the hurricane.
Yes.
That's a good one for
So
you.
we essentially just went with the same insurance that the previous owners had, because that insurance company already had all the details of the boat. And I think we lucked out because like everyone around us were getting dropped by their insurance providers after Irma, and we still have coverage. Our rates have doubled, but we still are covered. So Skipper's
Yeah.
Plan out of Toronto, if anyone's interested.
Which one? The Skipper's Plan?
Pardon? Skipper's
You said
Plan.
the
Yeah,
Skipper's
through
Plan?
Aviva.
Oh, Viva. Yeah. Okay.
We actually, and we didn't have a claim after Irma, which I think helped.
It helps. Otherwise, you might get canceled.
Yeah.
It's one of the questions here. Is it difficult for you to find a place to store your boat And would you give us an idea of the cost to store it, I guess, while you're not there? Although this time it's going to be different.
Hmm.
Um, so it's usually fairly easy to find a place to store, but in the Caribbean, you have to think ahead of time. Like you can't wait till June to book something. Um, you have to like book it in April or something. And you're probably looking at between $400 and $600 a month
For a boat under 40 feet.
for a boat that's 36 feet.
Okay.
That matters.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of the reasons that we went with a small boat. Like it's so rare to see a boat under 36 feet in the Caribbean. But we wanted to keep it as small and as manageable as possible.
It does make a big difference in the storage, especially when we knew we would be storing the boat 6 months at a time.
Hmm.
That may, like a lot of the islands, boats over 45 feet and catamarans pay a surcharge, and sometimes it's double.
Yeah.
So it could be upwards of $1,200 a month.
A lot of money. Actually, I sort of laughed with friends saying your boat seems to get smaller as you go further south. And so what you're used to here in Nepean and then even New York and so on, your boat sort of gets smaller as you go down to Florida and then certainly into the Caribbean because you're in and amongst all the big fellas down there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and in St. Martin, you can see how big some of the boats are.
Yeah. But there are advantages to having a small boat besides the financial costs, and that's that you get invited to all the big boats for drinks because people take one look at your boat and say, why don't we have drinks on our boat instead? So it works out for us too.
The other thing is that the two of you can control it without difficulty. Whereas I've talked to other couples that had a 45-foot boat, and they said, gee, we wish we had a smaller boat because coming into a dock, trying to maneuver, so on and so forth, it's a monster. Can't take care of it.
Yeah. Well, for example, our boat's a cutter, so we carry 3 sails on deck, and at the end of the season, we can throw them all in the dinghy, run them over to the dock with both of us in the dinghy, drag them up onto the dock, and fold them all up and take them back to the boat. And we have friends that have a 60-footer, and they have to get 4 or 5 guys and a float and a truck to move their mainsail.
Yep.
Different experiences.
So
very much so. I had a question here. Where do you keep your boat in Granada? I guess maybe that's the name of the spot.
well, we're on the island of Grenada.
Yeah.
Right now we're
Yeah.
just in a
You're in the
bay.
water.
Yeah. We're in a mangrove.
Oh, okay.
Undisclosed location.
Yeah. For security purposes, of course.
You mean we can't take a flight down to get on it, eh?
Well, no one can right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, did you do your own engine repairs or did you train to take care of a diesel before you went?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so I was quite familiar with diesel engines from a very young age. So
David is very handy. He can fix anything.
That's great because you probably need to be able to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, and you need to be able to do it under pressure as well.
What other upgrades did you do to the boat after you got it? There's a period of like 40 days there, 40 days and 40 nights when you were getting it ready.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the boat had sat for 3 years, and the boat had had a lot of work done before we got it. And they had changed the hot water heater and the water pumps and all of those sorts of things. But by the time we got there, none of them worked. So we had to change them all again.
Boats are not meant to sit on land.
Yeah,
And we think that there was actually more damage just from it sitting out of the water than from the hurricane.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we have a whole laundry list of things.
Yeah,
that we
all of the
upgrade.
there were in the end there was damage from the hurricane. We think there was a lot of vibration. So like all of the instrument screens had all separated. One of our hatches had all spider cracked. And as you saw in the video, our waste tank exploded, and it was because it was all stress cracked.
Okay.
So a lot of the plumbing, yeah, all the pumps, all the sumps. We ended up changing the batteries, all in that short period of time. And the people in the yard thought we were crazy, and they're like, "There's no way you're gonna take a boat that's been sitting for 3 years and throw it in the water in 3 weeks. Like it's just not." But we did.
We were the first boat that they launched out of that boatyard.
Wow. Did you have a lot of trouble getting marine supplies into that spot? Because you're talking about hot water tank, batteries, and so on. They're not locally produced.
It was a little difficult right after the hurricane, but after a while, it wasn't too bad. And when we got back to the island, it was a lot easier to get stuff.
There were some things that were really hard to get. Like I remember,
well, there was a part.
there was a part for the outboard that we waited months. Like we had to get other people to bring it to us
The
from
carburetor.
other islands.
We needed a bearing for our furler, and the bearing was $12, and I had to pay $70 in shipping to get it.
Wow.
So some things were really easy to get and some
Yeah.
things were not. But St. Martin is a fabulous island to get work done. Like everyone puts their boat out in Granada for hurricane season because that's outside of the hurricane belt. And then as soon as they're back in the water, everyone makes a beeline to St. Martin to do all their boat work because it's a tax-free island. It's probably the cheapest place
To ship.
to ship stuff to buy things from. And yeah, so that's kind of been our home base.
It's where most of the super yachts go to get service.
I see.
And getting there so soon after the hurricane, there weren't any tourists. And so we got to know all the people that worked in the yards, and we got really friendly with the people that do all the work, which turned out to be very helpful in the long run. Made
Wow.
some good relationships.
When you say Saint Martin, that's split into the two ends, aren't there? So it's French and Dutch.
Right, yeah.
So it doesn't really matter which end you're in, or is it more the Dutch side of things?
It didn't matter much to us, but it really seems to matter to the people who live there. The people on the French side are like, "Oh, I don't have anything to do with the Dutch side," and then vice versa.
But for our purposes, our boatyard was on the French side, and most of the places that we hung out in or went shopping in for boat parts were on the Dutch side. But they're connected by a lagoon. So like priority number one when you're in the boatyard is get that dinghy in the water, because that's your ticket to both sides.
It takes about 35 minutes to drive from one side to the other and about 10 minutes in a dinghy.
And no customs, no border patrol, nothing.
No.
That might be a different story in COVID, but
Yeah.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Okay. What else here is on the list? Oh yeah, issues with customs or visas and so on. I guess once you're there, you're there. Did you have problems with customs or visas?
That's a really good question. You mean in general to all the islands, or?
Oh yeah.
So the French islands, you land and then you like get in your dinghy and you go to the dock, and then you usually find a place where they sell flip-flops, and that's where you check in. You go to a computer and you're like, "Hey, I'm here." And then sometimes they look at your passport, sometimes they don't. You pay €2 and you're there.
You're in. And then on the Dutch islands, it's like a crazy rigmarole. It usually costs a heck of a lot more too. And it might take you all morning where you're doing like we always
little huts.
Yeah. We equate it to the Benny Hill video where it's like from one place to another.
One door to the next.
And then back again. And anyway, yeah.
So really,
some islands are better than
it really
others.
varies from island to island.
So it sounds like you want to go into the French side.
Yeah.
And then you're there, sort of.
Yeah, and then you can roam around as you please.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on where you're going into St. Martin, if you go to the Dutch side, it can be as much as $60 to check in. And if you go to the French side, it's usually you make a donation of €2 to the Sea Rescue.
I see.
That's
Good
the
idea.
difference. Yeah.
Pay what you can.
Yeah.
I guess getting down to the end of the questions here, what would you have done if you'd arrived? Or did you know the state of the boat before you arrived after the hurricane? Or what would you have done if you found that your boat wasn't one that was spared, that it was like the ones next door to it?
So, as David mentioned, we had gone down to our boat for a week right after we bought it just to see what it was like and make sure everything was okay. And during that week, we like established relationships with the people on the yard, like the people who watch the boats, the people who do all the management. And so because we had such good relationship, we almost had like priority emails and communication with them. They had the keys to our boat and were able to, give us an idea and send us pictures of what things were like. So we had a general idea. We knew that like we had escaped from major damage,
Mhm.
and then the rest was pretty much cosmetic.
Yeah, they knew our rig was okay and all our sails were below deck and there was no damage to the hull or the deck. So the boat was intact. So we thought we'll go with that if it floats. The only issues were electronics and the motor and everything. And so, in which, we still had stuff we had to deal with those things.
But
Uh,
what would we have done? I think that was the question.
Yeah.
We probably just would have spent our winter down there fixing it anyway, because, Ottawa winters are rough, as we're remembering these days.
Yeah, we probably would have just we would have fixed it.
We had the year off, so what else are we going to do?
Sure. Was your mast up during that time or not?
No, the reason that so many of those boats in that yard survived was because all the masts are down.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case in other boat yards.
Yeah. Yeah, the two boats yards on either side of us, they leave the masts up, and the damage was 85 to 95%.
Wow.
They were just boat piles.
In the boat yard that we were at, I think they only lost like 10 boats. It's like 10%, which is nothing compared to the rest of the boat yard.
Sure. I guess it's the extra cost of taking a mast down and putting it back up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are advantages, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
A last question here. Did you live on the boat while you were fixing it up?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
That's why I was covered in mosquito bites. And we should have put a picture of like all the mosquito netting that we put up, and it was just yeah.
We don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. We get a Airbnb or a hotel for 3 or 4 days to get everything kind of up and running, and then we move to the boat.
Okay. You were basically going up and down ladders then onto the boat, and you're out in the boat yard.
Like we couldn't even use our own head. We had to, every time we needed to go to the bathroom, like go back down the ladder and go to the like shared latrines. Maybe they weren't latrines. I'm kidding, but
it was a shipping container.
Yeah. It was post Irma. Like we didn't have water half the time.
Wow.
Or power.
Yeah. It was a bit of a gong show.
And no air conditioning.
No.
Oh, no.
31 degrees, 98% humidity.
Well, the thing is, 31 during the daytime is probably not too bad, but 31 at night, it probably was maybe it dropped to 30 at night.
Yeah.
But it's usually quite warm at night as well in the tropics.
Just in October, the rest of the time it's fine. But
the rest of the time we're on the water, so you don't care.
Yeah. Normally it's around 27 degrees in the winter. It's lovely.
Very good. Okay, I'll address the participants or the attendees here. Are there any other questions? Okay, one last question here. In hindsight, is there anything you would do differently?
Mel would have bought a bigger boat.
I wish we had a second stateroom so that we could have more guests. Just because space is an issue on a 36-footer when there's only one cabin.
But that said, we've had 3 or 4 couples come and spend a week with us, and it wasn't a problem. So if you're a sailor, you don't care. You're in the Caribbean.
That's right. You're in the water.
Hmm. And if you're not a sailor, no boat's big enough.
But apart from that, we're really happy with our boat choice.
Hmm.
Dave spent pretty much the entire 4 years researching.
When I should have been working, but
Yeah. So if anyone needs boat buying advice, talk to this guy. He knows them all backwards and forwards. I don't know. I think all in like it's hard to say. It was a really great experience. Obviously, we decided to keep going. So
yeah.
One last question then. When are you going to go back down again?
I wish we knew.
That's
I
a
mean,
very good question.
We were supposed to go February 13th,
13th.
and then Air Canada canceled the flight even before the announcement. So we had rebooked for April. Of course, now it's 90 days or whatever. So, I mean,
That's been canceled as
theoretically,
well.
we could go in May, maybe, just to get our boat out of the water. But then sounds like you have to go through hell and back just to come back into the country. So we're not sure that it's worth it until things go back to normal. We may hire someone to get our boat out of the water. These are
I shouldn't have asked that question, Mel.
Yeah,
no,
we
it's
really don't know.
anxiety inducing.
I sort of laughed at you to begin with because I said you made plans.
Yeah.
And everybody has made plans to do all sorts of things. And well, in the
We're
last
just
4
glad
years,
we
we've
didn't
had,
plan to go this year, like as our first year.
Yeah, that would be rough for anybody who was planning this to be their first year sailing.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, what do you say, plans. In the last 4 years, we've had 2 floods, a tornado, and now COVID.
Yeah.
And so James Pohl at the boat club has said, I really want just a normal launch.
Yeah,
Because all the
for sure.
time he's been there, nothing has ever gone according to plan.
Yeah. A nice, quiet, boring season.
That's what he wants, boring. So
Maybe
in any case.
2022.
Yeah.
maybe. Thank you very much again, Mel and Dave, for the talk you've given, and appreciate it. Good luck in your future endeavors, whether that's later this year or maybe you'll skip and maybe you'll go later on.
Yeah.
But one way or another, you'll be down there again. I'm supposed to show you something that we would like to present to you, and I'm not sure I can do it. I'd like
in front
to,
of your
but
face.
yeah, we have a hat here. Oh, here we go. Finally, yes, it's showing up. And I saw you already had one, but if you had it down in the sun, you probably each need another one at least by now. So, and you'll have to take a promise from me because the club is closed and everything's all locked up. You're not going to get it yet. So don't go down to the Caribbean too soon. By May, hopefully the club will be open. We'll be able to send this to you or get it to you the next time you're there. And
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
thank you very much. We appreciate that. So next week, we're going to talk about John Lund. He's going to talk on February 10th about the Hobie World level sailing down in Florida. And look forward to all of you back again next week, 7:30 on Wednesday. Thanks again, Dave and Mel. And that's all for now. Thanks.